Hey people, welcome to the channel, and in this case we continue talking about barter items and products that are high value during emergencies, during crisis, during serious events, during moments in which people find themselves appreciating those things they once took for granted. Before I go on with the video, folks, as always, if you want to learn more about realistic survival and preparedness, subscribe to the channel. You have the button somewhere there. Click on the notification bell button. You can leave your comments and suggestions for videos you'd like me to cover. That's always much appreciated. And you have my books, Survival Skills and Surviving the Economic Collapse. A lot of what I'm going to talk here is related to going through this in Argentina and also years later, actually leaving, moving around, the things I've learned, first-hand experience, and things I've learned from others. But I share all of that knowledge with you guys through my books. These are some of the best-selling survival and preparedness books, and yeah, you have them in the links there below in Amazon. Best way of buying them, especially if you have Prime with free shipping. So we just talked in the previous video of this topic about barter items, the things that are of high value after a collapse, after a disaster. Now, I think that here is where we start separating at least two main groups. One group is going to be large-scale disasters in which people are lacking things they took for granted that are necessary for sustaining life. You're talking about water, you're talking about food, you're talking about shelter, you're talking about being able to defend yourself. These things are all immediate and you need it right now. If there's an earthquake in Chile and there's no water anymore, within 24 hours, people will, and they have, gone at each other, killing one another for a bottle of water. These are things that have happened not only in Chile, but in other parts of the world. Why? Because within 24 hours, if you don't have a sip of water, within 24 hours, you will literally go at anyone and do whatever it takes to save your own life and to save the life of your loved ones. It gets really that bad. So food, water, especially in these large-scale disasters, that's the thing that usually becomes the most valuable. Food, water, all of these things. A means of defending yourself, right? Maybe water and food even more so than this, okay? Especially when everyone is flooded. There's a Katrina kind of, a bottle of water is gonna be crucial. A metal bottle of water and a filter, a water filter, these are gonna be super valuable. Now, at the same time, if you look at an economic collapse like what we saw in Argentina, do you see people bartering with food? Yeah, you do, but it's always going to be within the context of, it's not as if there's no food around. It is a lot more expensive than it was before, and people are bartering food, but I can tell you, having seen this myself, it's really not going to be the best. Oh yeah, I'm gonna stock up on a bunch of food because when the end of the world comes, I'm gonna sell this for X amount of money or gold or whatever it is that you wanna get in exchange for that. You do see it happening. You do see people selling their produce when they have farms, but it's usually gonna be within the context of there's still a supermarket open over there. If I have enough of those paper bills of that currency, I can go just buy it there. So it's usually gonna be the people of the lower income sector that are gonna be bartering with basic necessities such as food and water. Maybe not so much water. So you see how it's interesting that in one case, water is the most valuable thing a human being can have when there's no water around because everything is flooded or because there was an earthquake and broke all of the water pipes and people are killing one another for a bottle of water, or if you're looking at an economic collapse in which people find food to be expensive and there's other things that are high value as well. All right. Now, one of the ways I go about this after years and years of dedicating my life to this is, do I use this thing myself? Okay. Do we eat pasta in my house? Yes, we do. I buy a lot of the brand that we eat, good stuff, Italian pasta. I like the way it tastes. I know it's a lot healthier than the other crap. So that's what I stock up on. I buy a lot of that, right? Rice, lentils, things that you actually use. These can be valuable barter items during a disaster, but I don't even care about that because I'm gonna use it anyway. Ammunition, do I shoot? Yes. Does it go bad? Not really. So if I have a bunch of ammo, I'm gonna use it anyway. If I have matches and lighters, I mean, I probably have way more than I use in my entire life, but still, these are things you probably end up using anyway, right? But especially in terms of food, ammunition, fuel, You're going to use fuel in your car, yes. So these are all things you are going to use anyway, and they are very valuable during emergencies. Now, there is that immediate natural disaster, man-made situation where people are, fighting for the basic necessities, and then there is the economic collapse, the slow slide, the social, political, economic degradation in which everyone suddenly becomes poorer and poorer, and there's no jobs, there's no money to be made, and people, I just start bartering. I've seen this happen with my own eyes. I've gone through this, and I know how it goes down. And you will have people that are bartering even their services. A plumber will exchange an hour of his services for clothes, for maybe some food produce, or maybe something else, maybe some tools that he has. So let's say I have and this is where you get into the nitpicking thing that you only learn when you actually gone through these things. Let's say I'm exchanging some tools that I have with a guy that's gonna do some plumbing fixing or some electric stuff in my house, and I need that guy because it's required, even in the context of, even in spite of everything going on, he's certified, he can sign off on doing that job, and I'm just dealing with him on a haggle, personal basis. Maybe I have a nice set of tools. Oh, you have those Stanley ones? Those are nice, right? Maybe it's not the best stuff, but it is a brand name, recognized, and he probably can appreciate that, and I can barter with that with the guy. But what about if I have this? Well, this is gonna be something that maybe works for a 20-year-old guy that never used a hammer in his entire life, and he now moved into a tiny condo, and he hasn't got even a damn screwdriver, and he's gonna be okay with this, right? And this makes sense to buy a bunch of these. These are sold by IKEA, by the way, or IKEA as we call them. I think IKEA is the right way of pronouncing it. These are like $10, or were when I bought them. You can buy like 5 of these things. It's even stackable in this Tupperware format. And for someone that hasn't got any tools whatsoever, for $10, I can give something that has a lot of value for that person, right? So as you see, it really depends. And what is it that you're bartering? Well, you realize right away that the thing they want the most is actual fucking cash, money. Bartering is great. I explained this in Surviving the Economic Collapse. I explained this in dedicated chapters. It's great bartering when you don't have anything else. Or rather than call it, it's great to barter, it's what people had left. It was the only thing they had left, because ideally they would have a job and they would have money in their accounts or cash in hand, and they would use that instead. In spite of everything that we're talking about here, in Argentina, in 2001, and even wherever you are in the world right now, if things go to shit, a wad of cash that is readily accepted by everyone around you is the best barter item you can have. Yes, in spite of it being a fiat currency, okay? But that's just the way it goes. It is what you do when you don't have that cash that you start haggling and bartering and doing this. Okay, you know what? Things suck, but I need food, you need clothes, you need something repaired or whatnot, or I have a bunch of batteries I could probably use. This is what we arrange, okay? In terms of the economy of these things, a comment that you see all the time, oh, I'm not gonna barter a gun. Well, I don't know about bartering. Maybe you can sell a gun, and I've sold guns in the worst of the economic disaster of my country, and I can tell you right now, having gone through it and having done this several times at different stages, it is one of the things that you can sell for the best money. Guns, especially Glock pistols, 9mm, this is like selling McDonald's. It is something that people want to buy, and it's easy to sell, even to gun stores. They buy them because they know they can sell them away right away. Glock pistols and 9mm, 12-gauge shotguns, Mossberg 500, Maverick 88, Remington 870, 22 long rifle carbines, a Ruger 1022, any decent little 22 carbine. Those things are usually revolvers, maybe to a lesser extent, right? These are all things I know, and these are some of the things I've sold for the best money, right? Maybe even making money in the process if I bought it used for a good price. And then you have the more premium stuff, the collectible stuff, the stuff that everyone wants but on another level. Called Python. You see it all the time in my videos because it's sitting there in the back. These are things that there's always going to be a collectible market for. And if you go into Gunbroker or wherever it is, you will see that there's people willing to pay a very high price for these things, all right? These are things that have a high value in the market. Now, you can defend yourself with a 357 Magnum, but it's gonna be beyond that why people wanna have it, all right? The collectible aspect, it is not gonna be as easy as primary necessity or immediate demand in the market, but it's going to be there. Again, having gone through these things more than once and actually moving quite a bit around my life and selling stuff in different countries, one of the things that surprises people the most is realizing that this is what is easiest and best to sell. And I'm not talking about this specifically, I'm talking about toys, because I don't have one here right now to show you, but the idea is that you have no fucking idea how great it is to sell Fisher-Price toys, those things, like well-recognized brands for little children toys, those things, they just melt. You post those things and within hours, they're buying it from you. It is just like that. Why? Well, because of human psychology. You need a guy that wants to own a gun and maybe even legally has the option of owning it, depending on where you are. May not be as easy. But a toy, someone for a child, they will just take that out of your hands. Food, that same person will go with money and buy food from the groceries where he knows and trusts. He's not going to get food poisoning, right? He's not going to risk buying it from you if he has a chance, if he has an option. But toys, buying a used toy that is expensive and I can just clean it up and it looks almost like brand new, that shit flies out of your hands like you would not believe. The nicer and the bigger and the more Fisher-Pricey it is, the quicker it sells. And it's sometimes, we've sold, this is something that my wife did mostly, but she sold some of these things for more than she paid them for because of inflation, because of the economic reality of the country and the tariffs. Tariffs, those are words you want to get used to right now because that's in the conversation, okay? Tariff, Yay, tariffs. Okay, with those fucking tariffs, all of that shit becomes a lot more expensive. So pay attention, all right? These are things you only learn about having gone through them. I had someone buy my entire living room when moving once. A woman said, "Oh, I like everything I see here. Can I buy everything?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll sell it for this." It's still very good because if you have IKEA stuff from IKEA, that stuff sells like candy as well, especially for women, especially if it looks nice, they will just see it and, oh shit, I will buy everything that you have here. Things that we've done when moving around. And you learn all of these things, but most people that haven't gone through it, they just don't know. IKEA furniture, toys, guns, those are, I shit you not, some of the highest value items. And it's not that you're bartering, you're selling it. But as I was saying before, it's always better when you leave with a fat wad of cash in your hand than, I exchange all of this for tomatoes and produce. Yeah, that's going to be far more, give me the damn cash, right? I'm okay with that. And talking about gold and silver, these things, of course, have a huge market and there's a value but remember, it's one thing when you buy it, it's completely different when you go and sell it. Good luck selling it for even close of what you bought it for just hours ago. It's not going to be nearly as easy. You're going to take a hit. But I had someone in my Spanish channel, by the way, because for those of you that don't know, my books are also published in Spanish and in French. And in fact, they're the best-selling survival books in Spanish. And it's very humbling because I know that people in Spanish-speaking countries, they have to pay 3 times as much as what you pay in US for my books. And they still do it in spite of having far less financial flexibility like you guys have, and they still do it, and they still have my books on the top of the chart. But what I appreciate the most about it is these are guys that are going through these things themselves, and they appreciate this kind of stuff. One of those guys was telling me, Fernando, because of what you said, I bought my first silver eagle. One silver eagle, and he bought it a while back, and now he's looking at the price go up. Look, I have this and it's worth a lot more than it was before. But be careful, because once you go and sell it, and it's true that given the price and inflation and whatnot, before you know it, you're even selling it for, but you have to be careful where you sell it, and also be careful how you store it. You have to keep it in a plastic capsule like this, because it should be completely unmarked. Every tiny little mark just takes away the value. And little thing, remember that even if you don't buy it numismatically, you don't buy it for the numismatic value, you're just buying a silver eagle from this year, years later it will have probably a far greater numismatic value than just the silver content. So keep that in mind as well. Guys, that's going to be all for now. Subscribe, books, see you later. Take care.